This would be awesome with some steak, some fatty steak, you know?
This is a really good wine.
Yeah.
This is great.
What year is it?
This is a 2020 6 cents are on. I got some bad news. I don't think the last bit recorded.
Any of that?
I don't think so. I looked at my computer and I'm like...
Honestly, it wasn't spectacular.
Hello. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whatever time you're listening to this. Welcome to the second episode of Bro Taste This. I am one of your hosts, Luis Pablo. Joined with me, as always, is going to be Juan Legend and Jay Motherfucking May. On the second episode, we deep dive into our issues of the week. We break down some of the stories that made us who we are today. We really dive into each other's personality, which was interesting for all three of us to learn about each other. And finally, we find out why I'm such a piece of shit in all the church retreats that I went to. Thank you for joining us.
What's the date today, Louis?
Today is going to be 9/16th. Yep, 9/16th. We're recording on a beautiful Thursday afternoon.
Damn.
And my heart rate is 83. So I should probably be a little bit concerned, but we'll worry about that when the time comes. Anyways, boys, how are you?
Doing well.
We'll do a light cheers.
Yeah, cheers to the wine today.
Cheers.
This is really good, though.
Yeah.
It's delicious.
Where'd you get this wine?
She got us at Costco, actually.
Wow.
Shout out Alo.
Shout out Alo.
And then our girlfriends are in the other room watching
A swinger show.
a swinger show. Should we be concerned?
No.
Honestly,
Hey, it was your girl's idea, so I don't know what that
He's like, I
says.
could use the day off. It's some Spanish show called El Juego de las Llaves. Speaking of Spanish shows, have you guys seen Money Heist, the newest season?
no.
You should only watch it for one scene alone. Let me set it up for you. So there's this shit guy inside, and they're going to send him outside, and they're going to strap a fentanyl grenade to his chest. So the guy says to him, ¿Por cuánto duras en respirar? And the guy responds by saying, Lo mismo que duro dándole por el culo a tu puta madre.
Oh, hell no.
And he just straps a grenade to his chest, and he's like, a ver si es suficiente. And he sends him out. The smoke is just covering this guy's face, and he's running out. He's like, Policía, los renes, los renes. It's like, fucking I've seen that scene like 5 times already.
Wow.
Lo mismo que duro dándole por el culo a tu puta madre.
So I'm guessing it's that part about that scene that hooks you into it?
Yeah.
No, this is really late on. This is the 5th season that just came out, but that show's great. And
I know nothing about that show.
No,
I feel like I'm
tried,
missing out now.
I tried watching the first episode. I couldn't get into it. It's
It's
one of those things where
really, really Spanish.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, you know when you watch like a novela and that no manches, they talk like that?
Yeah.
Not this, bro. They talk like the Queen's English.
Like the lisp and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's like that for five hours and a season. I mean, it's a long season.
Yeah.
So I recommend it, but I can understand why people don't get into it.
I was unaware of the show even existing. Where is it on Netflix?
It's on Netflix. Yeah.
Yeah.
5 seasons. It's good.
Money
It's good.
Heist.
Yeah.
Money Heist.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
have to look it up.
Yeah. But well, boys, time to get in some weekly news. Who wants to go first? Who's feeling brave?
I can go first.
Yeah, please
Let's
go
do
ahead.
it.
Yeah, no, I want to talk to you guys kind of about what you thought over the talks about the government having access to your bank accounts, checking transactions, especially for like people that are self-employed. They're starting to have access to all the transactions through a bank, so they can see what you're pulling out and stuff.
This is new to me.
I was gonna be honest. I'm gonna be honest. I kind of low key thought the IRS could already do that.
Yeah.
So what's the biggest
I think
difference
they needed to audit you to be able to do that, but
Okay.
now they can track everything. So I mean, that could go even to service workers, the people that are serving.
Yeah.
If they end up putting cash into a bank,
Yeah,
that
true.
you know, how, as we all know in the service industry,
True.
at times people won't claim everything. They can anything over $600, they're allowed to look into now.
So just any transaction that's over $600?
Anything. No, yeah, like not any transaction, but if you have $600 or more in that bank account, they can look at it.
It's like open.
Mm-hmm. It's open. It's open to them, so they can see everything.
But has that kicked in?
Not
or it's talks about it?
Talks about it.
Okay.
I want to see kind of what you guys thought about that.
Well, I mean, that's kind of fucked already, though. Like, if that does go through, like, that's...
It's people are saying almost invasion of privacy.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, what if someone... Yeah... Any bit of transaction, if you're trying to, start a business, and you said the government is looking at this, or is it bank specifically?
Government. It's the government.
Which would mean the IRS, right?
Right, IRS.
Yeah.
What do you think the purpose of this is for?
That's what I'm trying to think. Like, I don't know what it... Obviously...
You think just trying to catch people slipping?
More data mining, but... Yeah.
I had read that, like, the current administration was looking for ways to close, like, loopholes to, like, wealthier people... like taxes, and like the IRS was going to be a tool that they employed, but like
that can guess that would help them out.
Yeah, and like if that's like the way that it plans on being used, which is like super optimistic, right? Like, I'm not trying to be naive. I'm saying, like, in a best case scenario, that's what happens, but that could easily not be the case. And like 4 years later, it could be a different administration, and they use it for a different purpose.
And the thing with that is, it's a $600.
Yeah, that's not even that much.
These people that's normal people.
Yeah, that's literally like every cashier,
Right. Everybody has $600 in their bank account.
I wonder if it's maybe to do with the fact the last year was so much used for unemployment that they're trying to be like, well, clearly you were doing something.
You had money.
Damn, that's a good point.
I'm guessing also the big thing that stands out to me is illegal immigrants.
Well, I mean,
because that's all cash, and you're not getting taxed on it, and you, especially like I know guys who are our age, but they get paid in cash, so they don't have to claim anything, and then they still file for unemployment.
But then they just won't put anything in the bank.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. I think that people are just probably going to stop using a bank as much then.
Maybe, yeah.
Because you hear,
Good, yeah.
You hear about people wanting to use a bank less and less because, well, what's the point? Like you
don't even make money on interest, like on a saving account.
Right.
Like,
any account. You barely make interest on a mutual fund if you put it and lock it in for 6 months. Yeah. It's nothing. It's barely beating inflation.
You're probably better off, honestly, having like a Robinhood account and then just using like a Robinhood card so that you're getting interest on that. You can just have it in an index fund, but yeah, I don't know what the true benefit of why the government would want to do it other than...
Dude, I remember my grandmother retired with just money in her savings account and was able to live off of the interest. She didn't even have a pension.
That's crazy.
Really?
She just like... She was like a grandmother who essentially worked her whole life, and for whatever reason, I found this out, my granddad didn't work the majority of his life. She was over here hustling, providing for 15 kids, and still retired. And with money in her bank account, was able to retire like that, and like just live off that interest in Mexico and shit.
I'm sorry, the money thing is great, but 15 kids, that's the only thing I caught up. Can you imagine being pregnant for 16 years straight?
Yeah, that's
I'm sure it was a little bit more spread out, but yeah, you're not wrong. Like, it was probably
that's even worse.
I'm thinking like 20 or something like that.
Yeah, I hear about people having kids like they're 2 years, 3 years apart, but bro, if you have them way back to back,
dude, if you start at 16, you go for 20 years, you end at like 36.
And she's working.
She was
15 kids pregnant. Dude, most of the time she was working.
She had a farm. Like, she had animals at a farm, bro.
That's the only way to really do 15 kids. That's the only way that it's possible.
She literally lived like fight or flight her whole life, man. Like that's that's crazy. That's awesome.
But one of them is gonna come good.
And I complain.
Damn, bro. I complain when I gotta take the dog out. I'm like, fucking this guy has to shit again. Yeah, 15 kids is a lot. Shit.
About the IRS, though, just to like finish. What are you guys' final thoughts on it, though?
I'm not a fan of it, and I just think of just those situations like invading people's privacy. Like it's just
that amount is too low, right?
It's way too low. If they're targeting rich people, then target rich people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like put those numbers way up there. You know what I mean? Like And that's something I feel like they don't target properly, because that's why they have so many, not to get off subject, but like why they have so many people that are like, don't tax the rich, don't tax the rich. But I feel like they say that because they think that they're part of that.
Yeah.
But there's like, there's that 0.01% that's actually that. Yeah. That's what who they should target. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like the Bezos who magnified his wealth during the pandemic by who knows how much, you know?
Yeah, not the kind of rich has a big house. That's not rich, bro. The rich are like
the uber wealthy.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, that kind of goes into my point that I want to bring up today, which is the Met Gala was this last week, in the last 7 days, and I found it really interesting that very liked AOC. AOC wore a dress, a white dress, and on the dress it said, "Tax the rich" in red colors. Now, I like AOC. I think she's very funny on Twitter. I think she's kind of the next wave of these new politicians because they have an online presence, they're liked, they have a touch with the youth. I did find it strange that that's where she decided to make a point, because you're at this super exclusive, invite only rich and wealthy people are there. It's like, dude, you have home advantage, and that's where you decide to wear a dress that says tax the rich. Like, you're not at a charity event, you're not making a stand during a talk or a presentation. Like, you're part of them. You're out there with the rich saying like, oh, tax them. I just really don't understand it.
Isn't that kind of like going into the lion's den though? Like,
no,
what would you?
Because I think furthermore, if she really wanted to make a stand,
present like a more effective alternative that you think.
I think to truly make a stand, she's like, hey, I was invited to this, but I don't want to go because, or say.
But don't you think that would have been like 30 seconds of news coverage versus?
No, I think it would have been more. I think knowing AOC, I think she
could, because like look at all like the images that have been replicated everywhere, and like people see it like it's like a Joker-like image, you know?
Right.
Like just like that alone is worth like viral material.
Yeah, and it did go viral, and I think that's ultimately the goal that she wanted. But I did find an odd taste in my mouth that she's doing it at the Met Gala. Like, of all the places to do it, she did it while she was there in the white dress.
Well, my understanding with the Met Gala, I don't pay attention to any of these celebrity balls or anything like that. But like, I was passing through my living room and I saw that it was on Primer Impacto, and the dude was commenting about how the Met Gala's like dress theme is stand up for a cause or something like that.
This time
or something like that, right? And so, like, if that's the theme, like, it's not even that off theme, like, and that's kind of her brand. That's so like, I don't know, like, what other things should she have gone as? Like, that's kind of her brand, you know, like.
It was kind of like representation.
Yeah.
Of yourself. Damn, that's it's a strong one. I just found it weird that she decided to do it at the Met Gala. Like, I get it that it's a theme that...
But if she would have done it at just, like, some random, like, donor, like, shit, it would have been seen as corny as hell. Because she would have been, like, the only one there cosplaying. Versus, like,
but
everyone else there was also cosplaying.
That would have also gotten just as much traction as she got on this.
Like, J Balvin wore a three-piece suit that had flowers printed all over, and also, like, a face mask of, like, a cloth with flowers printed all over. Like, it was... Everything there was over the top. Like...
Yeah, it wasn't the fact that it was over the top, but... Yeah, I did... Like I said, the part that I found weird is you're with them, you're on... And the people that are there, they're like, oh, yeah, supporting her. It's like, bro, you're the rich. Like, I don't get it.
I definitely get what you're saying, but I understand what Juan's saying, too. You know, I mean, I think the only way to kind of understand the big picture is to see what her objective was, you know, and talk to her and see what...
Yeah, that's
what really her thought process was, because it could really go either way. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it seems kind of cliche to be like amongst rich and say that, but at the same time, it's like it gets a lot of publicity. So maybe she wanted to show them, like, is she there standing up to them, being like, hey, you should be taxed more, or is she there as like just to have it, just honor? You know what I mean?
I guess it's probably the first point based off of what we know of AOC.
I kind of view this event as like parallel. Do you guys remember Rutger Bregman, that dude who went to Davos, like Norwegian economist, and told them all, like, why are y'all over here talking about charities and like different policy objectives and bullshit like that? Like, you know that you just need to tax the rich. And he like basically sat there and told them all to their faces, like the wealthiest people in the world, like the people in charge of these companies, right? And he just told them that. So this is kind of like similar to that event in my opinion, but like
that's a good.
It's less strategic. I feel like it could have been done. I couldn't tell you like how it could have been done better, but in a way, I feel that it could have.
She probably executed as best as she did with the resources she had at the time. So I do see your point of she wanted to bring it up of like, hey, this is something that I have an opportunity to go.
Yeah.
Which is, again, it's super exclusive.
And
how often is she going to get an invite?
Yeah. And plus, we're living in 2021. Like, the pandemic has shifted and made the economy even more unequal. It has grown the wealth of the Walmarts, the Amazons, the Disneys. It has, like, Facebooks. It's completely, like... So I'm not gonna like sit here and nitpick every like person who has the balls to stand up to the American media and be like, tax the rich.
I just thought it was an interesting point.
But it drove a shit ton of conversation.
Yeah.
All right, but to move on to topics,
it is. What do you got for this week?
September 16th, 5 days after 9/11. I wanna bring up 9/11 with you guys. I'm not.
Well, first
trying to like
let's all admit it was an inside job.
that's all I wanted to say.
Get the hell out of here. I was gonna say I'm not sitting here trying to allude to any like
the Simpsons called it
trutherism or anything like that.
The Simpsons called it, man.
I more want to talk like
thank you.
Bring up like the culture that came after 9/11.
Yeah.
And also how it like affected your guys' life. If like at what age you guys became conscious of either 9/11 and Iraq and Afghanistan in general. I'm talking about like the Middle East theaters. Like
we're the last age group that has a very conscious memory of what happened. Because even then, I mean, we can all talk about where we were. I think it's very on topic. I remember being in first grade. So you're 6, 7 years old, and my teacher saying to, and you guys are still younger than me, my teacher said to us like, oh, some bad people just did some bad things, and then they just sent us home. And I came home, my parents were home, and they were watching the news, and I mean, it was crazy. And then you don't get the full virtue of whatever happened until afterwards, until you're older. And I had actually a social studies teacher when I was in high school. He kind of replicated what happened that day. So we were in the middle of class. He's like, oh, let's just watch some bullshit. And as class is playing, a teacher walks in. And he's like, oh, did you just hear what happened? You got to turn on the news. And he starts, they're kind of going back and forth. He leaves the classroom, and you were watching the plane hit the second tower. And all of us were like, what the fuck, is this happening again? Like, we were so confused. Okay. So I was like 16 at the time. And he said to us, like, that's what it was like. Like, you guys are super confused right now. You guys are probably, like, wondering what the hell's going on. It's like, that's what it was like.
That's kind of messed up.
That's what it was like?
He's like, yeah, that's what it was like.
To get blown up?
Yeah, it was just...
I mean, I think it's a little bit different, but...
we all clearly know what happened.
Yeah.
It's national tragedy.
It's crazy. It's definitely crazy. And I mean, as a kid, you just don't understand that type of stuff. And I was, like, 4 years old, so I knew... but I didn't understand. But as I got older, I began to understand the repercussions of it. I have my stepdad was in the military at that time, and he ended up getting deployed during that time. So when my brother was born, he wasn't even there. He was out there. He's on the front lines. He's a Marine, so he's out there in the field, like with the real things that are going on, and. It hits home for him, and I could see how it affected like people that were directly involved. It's
for sure.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
I mean, what can I say? I was in kindergarten It was a half day back when like kindergarten was half day. I don't know if it's still like that. And I was at my house, and my uncle was taking care of me. The TV was on, and like the only images that were on TV, like on any channel essentially, were non-stop coverage of like these smoky, hazy scenes in New York and the towers, you know, with like, you would just see like people falling off and this and that, and like you're like a little kid, you know, like this is kind of like the first like political event you're almost aware of. Like, I don't know, maybe other people were a little bit more conscious than I was, but in my like childhood memory, that seems to be the biggest, most significant political event I was like conscious of in that age. But I do remember like always having this like eerie feeling of like the way that politicians talked about like the Middle East was like kind of just like jargon, and like,
well, really painted a picture very similar to what they did in terms of propaganda during the 30s and 20s of the Germans and Russians.
Yeah,
it almost gave them like a perfect platform to just be like, they're the enemy, and that's why the taxes are what they are.
Yeah, and they would always use like the sanitized language, like insurgents and stuff like that. Like, you can just call them enemies that you're trying to kill. Like, you don't have to come up with these new terms that like you're. And there's just like a laundry list of things like that.
The amount of racism that we kind of like
normalized.
Yeah, after that was, dude, it almost like started like a new wave of racism.
100%.
At 2001. After that, it was like anybody that was of color, you saw that.
It's easy to group them.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
And, I mean, in USA, I mean, they do it all the time. You know, during Reagan, it was communism. You know, they just grouped them in a huge bubble of who that was.
Right, it meant nothing.
And it could have been anybody. You know what I mean? It was just, it's
what
they do.
Group and, you know,
and they'll do anything, you know, to take care of that, you know?
Yeah, it's similar to the last presidency administration where they just picked anybody who was brown. So it didn't matter what brown you were. It was like, oh, you...
Muslims. Central American. Mexican.
Yeah, it was... So, no, I think that... Even talking about it today makes it very obvious that that's what had happened, and that's why we have this new wave of what we kind of have, the modern racism.
It's unfortunate, and it's just bred into us, and and to be quite honest, I felt victim into it, not in a way where I judged them in a way where I had anything towards them, but in a way you felt almost a little uncomfortable, but because of past experience, you know, like what you see on TV as a kid, where you see it's like, I felt uncomfortable, then you go through your head, it's like, I shouldn't be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
They're normal, they're just like me.
You almost have to untrain yourself from media bias.
You have to untrain yourself, and there's people that won't do that, and they'll just fall victim to that.
Yeah.
And they still think
they like that rah, like, I need an enemy kind of mentality. Outsiders stay out.
Yeah, and I think maybe that's what's going on with the problem today, where we're looking for an enemy without there being one. Juan and Jorge are finishing the last bit of their wine. It's so beautiful. I guess we should talk about the wine, huh?
Before we move on, though, I do want to get your guys' opinion on the media's reaction to Biden leaving the Afghanistan theater and war. Like, what do you guys think? In my opinion, like, I think whatever way any president's gonna leave a war, the American war-hungry media is gonna like beat the war drums, since they're literally sponsored by the same companies who drop the bombs and make the planes. But I mean, I would love to hear you guys' opinion.
Man, it's like, hey, what do you think about black people?
that's
essentially
tough,
what you just asked.
That's tough.
George, you want to take this one?
Man, I really don't know, man. That's such a tough topic to discuss.
No, 100%. And that's what kind of this podcast is for. Is like, let's open up wine and let's open up issues. Which is kind of why I really wanted to do it. So I have a very nice. Where am I going with this?
That's an interesting word to use right now. So.
I have a very nice, perfect combination of groups that I'm able to interact with. So my normal life is very leftist, very, very liberal. And that's how I kind of live my life a lot. And the people that I work with, who will be unnamed, and the people that I interact with the most, which is the people you work with, are extremely rightist. Like, the most conservative people I've ever met. Like,
are these the engineers in Kenosha?
They will go unnamed.
No, I'm not asking for names, but you're still working in that place, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm not asking for any names.
Quit immediately.
Yeah.
That's what Juan's trying to say.
Once they listen to this, you have a choice. They will openly have Fox News up on their computer. Like, I will walk by in the morning, good morning, and they're like, hey, what's up, man? And they have Fox News up on their computer. So, home team advantage.
What's the age range you're like dealing with?
I'm part of the new employees, and we're all around the age of 22 to 30. And even then, some of them are kind of rightist, but yeah, the majority of the employees are, I would say, probably 70 to 60% of them are older guys who have been in the field for quite a while, especially engineering.
Okay. So, Afghanistan.
So, wrapping up the point. As soon as that had happened, they made it very clear that they weren't. They were looking for something. They're like
to talk about.
Yeah, they were like, "Hey man, fucking Biden sucks. I can't believe he's doing this. He's killing our own troops. The blood is on his hands." And the way that I felt about it was like, I think it's pretty naive to say that Biden is doing a good job. He got dealt a very shit hand of cards, so it was very tough no matter what you did. Especially you're coming off of an pandemic, so no matter what, the economy's going to look like shit. And I think that was just another pile of shit to add on top of their hatred towards him. I have no doubt that there would be a Republican president in 2024.
100%.
Just because it's now more than ever, it's home in a way, like left, right. That's what people want.
Yeah.
They're like, you won this one, we're going to get the next one. It's almost like. So yeah, that's what I think is ultimately, like, I don't think any way that he left would have been ideal.
Yeah,
but
they really nitpicked every decision that he would have taken anyway.
But this just was like the worst outcome that could have been possible.
And that's the thing with a decision, like the word in itself, like it's a decision, like he's making it for all of us.
Yeah.
Like, there's people against it, there's people for it, but he has to make make a decision, you know.
Just so we all remember, though, for some additional context, Trump said he was going to do this as well, but then he spoke to his generals and they talked him out of it because he was told that it would look like too much of a mess in front of the media. So essentially, the only reason he didn't want to do it was because he was going to get this reaction from the media.
You're right.
And I was a fucking anti-Biden guy during the primary and all that shit. I don't want to give him credit, but on this issue, he's been the most anti-war president in the last 20 years.
Oh, for sure.
So, just with the Met Gala thing, you kind of got to take your wins where you get them.
Oh, for sure, yeah. And I think a compromise is when no one ends up happy, and no one ended up happy this time around.
Yeah,
and
literally no one's happy.
That's what you got to do.
Yeah.
You got, like you said, pick your battles, and this one is, you're going to eat a shit cake, but you're going to eat it.
Yeah.
You might as well eat it one spoonful at a time.
And the dude talked about how we wasted $300 million a day in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
What does that mean for the more broken down communities in our own country?
Yeah.
How could that have helped them versus us literally pouring money into the coffers of these military contractors?
Yeah,
and
suddenly a $1,600 paycheck was $30 million spread across 300 million people
per day. $300 million per day.
Yeah.
We say that and we think that they do better with the money, but they probably still would have done nothing.
They didn't.
Even if we didn't go to war, they had the money.
They fell apart when we left that place in a few days.
Of course, and a new beach in Florida.
All right. Let's talk about today's wine. This week's wine. We have a beautiful 6 cents. Where is it from? Do you know?
Lodi, California.
This is the 2018 6 cents Syrah. And now that we've had most of it, what do you guys think?
personally love that one.
I think it's good.
I like Syrah quite a lot.
I do
so
as
I think
well.
no matter what.
Easy to drink.
Yeah, and I hate
Easy to drink.
I hate easy wine. I hate like a Pinot Noir where you can add ice cubes and Sprite to it. And this is again the complete polar opposite scale. Where
There's some good Pinot Noir.
Yeah.
Relax. There's some good Pinot Noir out there.
No, I like this a lot. It's 2018. Oh shit.
You know, we say Pinot Noir is easy, but it's like
it's hard to make.
It is hard to make. That's what I was just gonna say that.
This is 15% alcohol. It's got 60 grams of 0.6 grams of acidity for every 100 milliliters. Its pH balance is 3.57. And we got an anonymous review here that says, well balanced and overall great wine. Good. Shut the fuck up. Good nose. Wonderfully
You know that guy doesn't know what he's talking about.
Bro. And of course 3 people agree with it.
Fucking Karen.
We got Brand Geese 218. No. I bought this after having a blended red with Syrah. It is my favorite. That's a sentence. It is, period. My favorite.
He was so excited he couldn't get the word right.
Okay, man, clearly you need to fuck off.
What do you guys rate it?
What do I rate it?
What do you think? 1 through 10?
We should come up with a rating.
That's
system.
true.
1 through 10.
Let's organize it now. 1 through 10?
Like green through Kanye.
Excuse me?
Green through
No,
Kanye?
never mind.
Green?
Wrong rating system. Let's go.
Do you want to explain yourself?
More like Little Pump to Kanye.
Yeah, Little Pump to Kanye. Yeah, I like this a lot. For the price, what was it?
I actually have no idea.
I would guess
the all-powerful
price on here is
$25.
This is $18 website. Should we?
Oh, you said 25. That means you would have paid 25. So.
Yeah. Should we ask the girls?
I would pay 25 for this bottle.
I just want to know how much she paid.
I'll take the internet's word for it.
$18.
So let's say 25.
Take or leave $2.
I think
just cover our bases.
Plus or minus $5.
Yeah.
Plus or minus, I could do plus $5. I still buy.
Plus or minus $5.
Yeah, that's
I pay $25 for this bottle.
I would gladly drink this again.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be tough to drink it on a regular night though. Maybe some steak.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe some steak.
I agree.
Okay, and let's go into this week's topic. I thought it'd be fun if, second episode here, we got to know each other a little bit better, that we ask each other a very deep-rooted question. Both of mine are the same. It's how much do you want to have anal sex with me? So we'll see how far that gets us. We got another hour to fill. So who wants to go first?
Are we doing 1 through 10 again?
Yeah, 1 through 10. No. I do have real questions. Should I just start since I'm...
Yeah, no, please.
All right, I do have a good question for Juan. I think it'll branch off nicely. So, for those who do know Juan even a little bit, you'll know that Juan is a very much justice-centered fellow. Would you describe yourself as a justice-centered guy?
I guess so, yeah. Yeah, I would say so.
Like, you're very much of like, this is wrong, we should be doing something about this, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah, I have like I don't know, due to I believe my upbringing, like I was a trailer park kid. I come from immigrants. I was born with a political identity. So my big question for you that I really have wanted to know the more I thought about this is, where did that come from? And why do you feel like it's such a deep-rooted personality trait? Because I've only seen it in a handful of people, of they just want what's best.
Yeah.
For others too.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's never
It's
like
not him. It's not what's best for him. No, he wants.
I would completely agree. That's the big thing too, because like I said, I've only seen it in a handful of people in my entire life, of people who are like, hey, no, this is wrong.
Yeah.
And sometimes, I mean, I've seen you talk about issues that don't involve you at all, that don't involve yelling at Mexicans.
No, I think being like an American kid, having grown up like with immigrant parents, having grown up in a trailer park, having seen like deportations completely decimate families that used to be stable around me in a trailer park, that sort of stuff, like it just gets ingrained in you and it doesn't leave you. Like I had friends that used to be my friends, and like we spent years together being best friends, being neighbors, stuff like that. and then like something happens and suddenly like you're a beaner, get the fuck out of this country, like yeah, like, and their parents are saying the same stuff to you, so boom, like suddenly you're just like, what the fuck.
At what age did you, because I feel like all three of us would probably have an age that's maybe similar or close to one another of like, oh, racism is real, and it's not just like kids telling racist jokes at the playground. It's very much like, oh no, this is racism, and it's targeted towards me.
I mean, for me, I can remember like, just to like not go on too long, I can remember like 3 events. Like I remember when I first moved to the trailer park, I had a new bus stop and I had a shit ton of kids that were getting off there, and I sat next to this like just normal looking like white kid, and I was talking to him, oh, you live here too, this or that, oh, maybe we should hang out sometime, and he's like, nah, my mom said I can't hang out with Mexicans. It's like, oh shit.
And how old were you?
I was like in 3rd grade.
Jesus.
Yeah, and then and he was
8
like,
years old.
yeah, and he was like, he had autism and stuff, so you would think he would be like, just like,
yeah, I need all the friends I need.
In a way, like, just be friendly with whoever approaches you, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you're gonna have it hard enough as it is, just like you would think. But, like, that was not how he was brought up. I wouldn't even put that on him.
He's regurgitating.
Yeah, exactly. He's just regurgitating what he hears at home.
Right.
Another one, I literally, basically 7 years later, in the same place, I had a really close friend. We had been friends for like 3-4 years. He was kind of like a nerd. I was kind of like a nerd. We played computer games, the works. He was also white. He lived right in front of me. Like, and then some shit happened. I couldn't even tell you whose fault it was. Like between him and my brother, where my brother, they were playing football outside. My brother ended up with broken teeth, and my parents were like, "Well, let's see like who's gonna take care of this. Like, what happened, this or that." And the moment they showed up over there, her mom and him, because it was just them two, were just like, you fucking beaners need to go back to where you came from, this and that. And like ever since then, like they would like see you looking at them out the window and like stick their middle fingers at you and just like, so it was just like day or night. Yeah. Like we were best friends one day and then the next day something happened and suddenly you're fucking beaners.
That lives on the street.
Yeah. So and then as like my last like incident where it just ingrained it into me with that like your existence is political in this country. I was a senior in Delavan and I was watching the guys play soccer, and they were playing Elkhorn area soccer, whatever, and like
we should rephrase. It's a very
country.
Right. Delavan is a very small town in the southeast Wisconsin that is...
Thank you, at least.
Like
some context.
Yeah, it's a very dense populated town.
We live in Paul Ryan's district. We live like 20 minutes away from where Paul Ryan was elected.
Yeah. So pretty much the southeast Wisconsin area is very...
In the Lake Geneva, old Chicago money, so it's a very conservative county. But Delavan happens to be like this
densely Mexican.
I wouldn't even say densely, dude, because like we're like 30% Mexican, but they're just like
no, but just in
that's too much.
The region of Wisconsin, Delavan stands out.
Yeah, because it's not even that much, but to them that's too much, you know. Like,
right. It's a very small county, but you notice there's a big Mexican influence in the county.
Yeah.
And Elkhorn, which is another small town, is much known for. I mean, which is where I live now is a very small town. There's not a Walmart in town. There's a Piggly Wiggly. It's very small business driven, and it's very I would say very Caucasian country oriented.
Yeah.
Right. So please continue.
Point is, we were chilling there, and we're watching the guys play soccer. It's a super competitive game. These two are like essentially crosstown rivals.
Yeah.
And then like they're wearing blazing orange, and then they start chanting USA, USA,
which is awfully weird to chant during a high school game.
Yeah,
where both teams are primarily American born.
Exactly. They start chanting that. They start chanting build that wall, Trump, Trump, Trump. And then like, dude, I was still too naive, dog. I was still too naive, Luis. Like, I was like, oh no, man, this is just like for like competition, this or that. And then 4 years later, I meet Jim motherfucking Black. Dude, I meet him, dude, and he's like telling me, yeah, I moved to Honduras to like fight CIA death squads.
So this incident that we're talking about, in April of 2016, Fox Milwaukee actually made a giant report about it. So, I mean, it did make national news, essentially, that during a high school game, some of these kids were chanting "Build that wall," and...
That was actually 2 years later, bro. That's how much it happens.
Really?
Yeah, 2016 is 2 years after I was done, bro. 2014.
So it happened.
It happens a lot. Look up Beloit Elkhorn High School 2014. That's the only one that made it on the news that year. But Elkhorn would do it to so many people.
Yeah, no, it's a town that kind of prioritizes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So like I would say that like just seeing that,
conservative,
and then meeting Jim, who quite literally put his money where his mouth is.
Have on the show. We
absolutely have to have Jim Black on the show.
Yeah, we'll get that done. Yeah, it's. I mean, at my local gym in the same town of Elkhorn, I will see. I thought it was just one guy, but I will see more than one guy wearing a Trump "Make America Great Again" hat, just openly, which is like. You're here amongst other people who agree with you. Like, you're not making a difference.
A statement.
Yeah,
you're not convincing nobody.
That's like, it's really strange. That's like me going to fucking Lactate Central and being like, "Hey, lactose sucks, right?" Be like, yeah, so we're making these. Yeah, I truly don't understand the whole idea of like you're at a place where you can just say whatever you want and get away with it. Like, I truly don't get it. Mm-hmm. Like, you want to be brave, say build that wall at fucking Kenosha or Milwaukee, which are like two very diverse towns.
Exactly.
You're not making a big difference.
I mean, I think at that point they were just like doing it because like they wanted to
get under your skin.
Yeah, remind you like the little Hispanics, you know, like this is our place, you know, like that sort of thing.
I mean, how did that make you feel? Like, what's your thought process through that? Like, what do you think you think these people actually don't like you, or how do you take those type of situations? Like, you think they generally have like a dislike for Mexicans, or do you think it's just, you know, like you said, to get under your skin? Because, you know, you can make fun of someone. I can make fun of Luis and get under his skin, but, you know, I don't mean it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't mean it. You know what I mean? So no, it's one of those situations, or do you take it personally? Like,
no, okay. I can see why some people would say that. But that shit does not happen in inner cities.
Yeah.
That shit does not happen there, bro.
No, 100%.
So, like, even if you're trying to get under somebody's skin and, like, just trying to, like, get any angle for your town and, like, trying to support your team, like, you don't see that shit happening in more diverse communities because it's a little bit personal.
Right. So, but how do you take it?
And again, we're not talking about a like state playoff final.
Yeah, no, it was
a normal game.
Like terrible football teams on both sides.
We're talking about a regular season game.
Or soccer teams.
Yeah, and it's just like, why are they chanting this?
Yeah, no, the way I took it, like I said, at that time, dude, I took it as, like, you're essentially, like you're saying, like, it is just that. People love competition. They'll use any angle.
Yeah.
And I was young and naive, dude. Because then I grew up out of that shit real quick. The moment, like, other stuff started happening, like...
So what's your thought process? Like, how do you feel about it then now?
I mean, I just think it's a signal for, like, some of the forces that exist in America today, man. Like...
But do you think that's race? Do you think that type of racism is everywhere, though? Do you think it's like in other countries?
Yeah, that's tough.
I mean, I'm sure there's differences between ethnic groups everywhere.
Yeah, there's always going to be.
Yeah, there's always going to be that. But I mean,
and that's.
I don't know that like makes you feel better. You know, like
do you think it can be changed at some point? Do you think some way in the future we can all unlearn those type of things?
I would think so, but at the end of the day, we are now so many years past like the civil rights movement, and you know, the year after the Black Lives Matter movement, that it really does feel like this isn't ever going to change.
It's early on, you know.
Yeah.
You know, that type of stuff, those type of movements were 40 years ago, 50 years ago. Like,
you think, like, you know, year
change
after
doesn't
year,
happen that quick, you know.
Right.
And I have the hope that one day those type of things will change. Like, I have the hope that, you know, that could, at some point, will evolve to be so much more united. But at the same time, we're always gonna look different to each other. Like, that's not gonna change, you know. Like, and our roots, we're never gonna let that go. Like, we're all. I know we get that type of talk, but we're proud to be, you know, have those differences. Like, I know I am. Like, I'm very, like, when someone makes fun of or has ever had made fun of me, like, at first, you know, you're a little hurt, but as I grew up, I felt like I just felt like proud of it. Like, like I am so proud because I learned I have another language, I have a whole other culture. It's like a whole other life. Like, I have 2 lives, you know.
That's
and I'm
true.
like, I'm happy about it. So whenever anyone says something to me, I'm like, it doesn't even like faze me because I'm like, I feel like I have something, you know, like I have the upper hand, you know, not you for talking down on me, you know.
It's very much groupthink where because someone says some bullshit about whatever thing that you like, whether it be, you know, our culture, whether it be the way we were raised, and anything, where you do tend to support that factor a lot more than you originally would. So if someone makes fun of the way you look, the way you talk, it's like, yeah, I got an accent, or yeah, you know, I'm brown, or whatever. It definitely does make you reinforce the fact that you do like it way more.
Especially that. So you think that shaped you to be kind of how you think about things now?
Yeah, I would say that's like 90%, and then like the last 10% is Jim Black and Martin Luther King, because I share like a pretty close birthday with Martin Luther King, and I was always like super exposed to him because they were always talking about him like around me, and like looking. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but Martin Luther King had like a super powerful anti-war streak in him, where he was like he called the United States government the #1 purveyor of terrorism in the whole world.
Yeah.
So like him and Vietnam and all of that just like solidified my thoughts that all this stuff about us having like all these bases around the world and all these military operations and all that just kind of solidified all those beliefs.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say that would be basically how I would break down my belief structure. Yeah.
That's great, man. I've always been curious. So
does that mean you go to George?
No, I think you should definitely take the next question. Whoever you want to ask.
All right.
If you want to ask George your question.
Okay. I was curious about George, man, since you have the slightly less normal to us because we're so, you know, exposed to Mexicans rather than other different Latin and Hispanic cultures. Number one, what differences do you see between like Salvadorian versus like Mexican culture? And number two, dude, you gotta go into like how your grandmama came in here and like what was it just your grandmother that was Salvadorian, or was it both grandma, grandpa?
Yep. Okay.
Both of them?
Yeah, both of them came at the same time.
Like, what were they like over there? Were they like?
Yep. So they were teenagers at the time. My grandparents were about 18 years old when all this started happening.
Yeah.
So at about 18 years old, they were about to have their first kid. Like 19, they had their first kid.
Okay.
But at that time,
at 19.
19.
And what kind of backgrounds did they have?
So my grandma's Italian and Salvadorian.
Okay.
They both grew up there.
Yeah.
Her dad died when she was like 1 year old. My grandfather, the same thing. His dad died when he was about 7 years old. Each of their parents had like 7 kids. They grew up poor.
Okay.
They grew up poor, but that was
urban
common.
Country.
No, that was common in El Salvador. You know, for them to grow up kind of in that. It's just the poor. It was very. There was a big difference from the wealthy and the normal people. It was. Yeah. It was very extreme, and that's kind of what. Made or caused the that civil war to kind of happen. You know, it was the
inequality, right?
The inequality was crazy. You know, and a big thing is a few big incidents happened, and the reason they had to leave. You know, it was bad. I'm kind of how you think of like Black Lives or like, you know, a protest.
Yeah.
You know, Black Lives Matter had their protest. That's what young people and normal people and like people of the
Working
country,
class.
the working class, were having to the government. But it wasn't like here. It was you talk bad about the government, you get punished. So even my grandfather, he was in college at the time, and
So we're talking about like the 70s, 60s?
late 70s. This is late 70s, so like 78. He was in college at the time. It's a story that he tells us often. He was outside. There was people protesting, and he wasn't a part of that just because
He was just
he knew
walking
better.
by?
He knew
Yeah.
better. Shouldn't be involved. But they thought these guys were throwing newspapers at something, upset, and they thought he was part of them. They ended up taking him. They took him away. They arrested him. And with these kids, you don't see them again when something like that happens.
They make them disappear.
They make them disappear. So he went, and he worked for like a general. Before this, like he worked for like 2 years as a general. And my grandma realized that he was gone and he wasn't coming back. So she went and talked to them. This general somehow got him out of there. But before that, he was around these people that were getting killed for what they did, and he was going to be a part of that.
Holy
So,
shit.
and that's the type of life that they
So
had.
if you said one bad thing,
It was that type of environment there at the time where there was so much hostility. So during that time, they lived there for a few more years until my dad was about 5 years old. They had a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, and they made a decision like they can't do it. Once 82 hit, 83, when the Civil War really took gear, that's when we already had family in the United States, so they got my grandma papers.
yeah.
They got my dad and his siblings papers, and they came here legally. My grandfather unfortunately couldn't do it that way, so he did initially come here illegally. And yeah, they had to flee because of the Civil War. I don't know if you guys know too much about the Civil War over there.
I don't know enough about it.
But
yeah, I was studying a little bit up about it.
yeah, so it's a big difference. I know you said something about that
Mosul.
massacre. That was one of the driving factors. What the government did is a big driving factor is they had this. I don't know. It was a priest. And
Archbishop Oscar Romero.
Yep. So he was
a liberation theologist.
Yep,
Just like Martin Luther King.
So you did some research.
They
I went on Reddit for an hour.
No, I've known about Oscar Romero for a few years.
So he was an activist for them, and what a big thing that caused it in the middle of service, they went up there and they shot him up. They killed him right in front of people, and that was a big thing that outraged the country.
He was serving mass, and they shot him while he was serving mass.
He was like a big figure to them, a man of the people, and they took away their
During Mass?
mass. They took away their man of the people They also killed American nuns.
Yes, they raped them. 4 American nuns during the Carter administration. Which the American-backed death squads raped.
Were they raped or after they were killed?
I don't know.
I think that's kind of important to the... Because you really see these American troops differently if they raped her after she got,
Yeah, there's a big morality line.
Yeah, I mean, that's
big line. Big line. If he cross it,
it's one thing.
Kill him. If not, 2 years.
I mean, yeah, exactly. It's one thing to rape, but you're gonna a dead body. Have some respect.
Have some respect for the dead.
Yeah, Jesus. Let her rest in peace.
The USA's had involvement with El Salvador since then, and the big thing, like going back again, you said Reagan administration. The reason of that is because I don't know if it's Guatemala or Nicaragua, but they overthrew their dictator, and Reagan was afraid of them being communist. Honduras.
It was Honduras.
So he was afraid of them being communist, and he was afraid of other Central American countries doing the same thing. So he wanted to put a stop to El Salvador and them killing their own dictator. So what he did is he sent troops, he funded money to their military to oppress the people so that wouldn't happen to El Salvador.
He would call them communists, right?
He'd call them communists. And these people are normal people just trying to fight for their rights.
They were literally coffee farmers.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So I don't know. So that incident where they massacred a ton of people, the reason for that was because they thought that this town was working with the people, the guerrilla warfare or whatever they were fighting against the government. So they decided to just massacre them. There was about 1,000 people, I think, and like half of them were children. They killed the whole town, and they are saying that U.S. troops were involved in this and that they helped aid this and they helped
Yeah.
make these type of things happen. But if you guys want to hear more, learn more about this, I don't know if you guys ever seen the movie Voces Inocentes.
No.
It's about that thing. Great movie. Like
gonna
besides
have
it
to
being
watch that
about
one.
that, it's a great movie.
Jamie, write that one down.
Jaime.
Thank you, powerful
Yeah.
Jamie.
But
Yeah.
that's the type of thing that they had to flee from. Like my grandma always tells me stories of like, luckily my dad and his siblings were too young, but the government would come, take the kids out of the house at 12 years old, 10 years old, train them, give them guns, and learn how to fight against the opposing. So they'd be taking children from house.
And they'd be like killing their own parents.
Yep,
and shit.
they'd be killing their own people. They have to go at times going back to, and if they refuse,
So you're brainwashing these kids.
if they refuse, they would take them, they kill them right there. They put them all on the line and they shoot them. If they didn't come, if they refused or they fought, they did something wrong.
Dude, we supported them.
And
And we were like, yeah, let's send more money. Let's
Yeah.
send more troops on there.
Yeah, so at that time, like I said, they were too young to be taken, but my grandparents knew that they couldn't be there, so they tell me stories of like, you know, the troops coming in, having gunshots all around. They have to put their mattresses up and they have to hide the kids, and that's what they had to flee from. You know, it's not.
Holy
So that's why they came in the 80s.
When did you become aware of like the heavy past that you had like to deal with in your family?
You know, not until I was older. That's the thing with my family. I don't consider myself like. I mean, I could be considered like first generation, but my dad was here when he was 5. My mom was born in the United States, so they grew up here. Like,
They're pretty Americanized.
This is all they know.
Yeah.
Like, they can speak Spanish perfectly, right? Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, but they kind of took the first generation role. So I feel
Okay.
like I was hidden from the truth of things that went on because they saw more like I know now because I'm older. We can talk about my grandparents, but as a kid, I didn't know my grandparents. You know, they did very, very well for themselves somehow. You know, like they.
Well, it's probably
Coming from when they come from, because they were smart. Like my grandpa's a smart individual. You know, he was going to college. He was going to be a doctor. That's what he wanted to be. Came here. You know, had to work in a factory. Lived in an apartment, 2-bedroom apartment with a bunch of kids. Like what he ended up doing was within like 5 years, he was working. He got his college degree and he became a minister. And then that's how he got my aunts and my uncle and my dad out of that poverty in New York is where they first started.
Yeah.
So that was kind of their story, how they came, and then, you know, from there. But
yeah, well, it's all. I never knew that side of not only about you, but just about El Salvador in general.
yeah, no,
I didn't realize how war-ridden it was.
it's crazy. The war lasted like 12 years. It was a
Jeez.
long fought war. Yeah.
Well, with that being said, do you want to... I think you should ask Juan your question. Do you have one right?
Yeah, I do. You go first, though. You go first. I feel like
I already asked one.
You already asked one.
Yeah. I already asked one. All right, since we're on you, George. So this is still it's still a personal question, but I've always wondered this about you. And I've known you for a long time. I've known both of you for a long time, but I've known you for an extra long time. And most people that do meet you would say right away that you're like this cocky, really like stuck-up guy.
I didn't get that, by the way.
It's okay.
I would say people definitely do come to me and say like, oh yeah, he's kind of, you know, just like a cocky person, and I don't think that's a bad thing. But once you, and Juan can attest to this as well, once you get to know you, you will definitely say like you're definitely more of a reserved, quiet kind of guy.
I was gonna say I thought you were pretty shy.
Once you do get to know you. So which of the two would you say is a more accurate depiction? Is it the depiction that's a first impression, or is it a depiction of like, oh, I'm more of a quiet guy?
I get that often. You know, and then once people, and I say I get it often because most people won't tell you that there was but I've had a lot of people tell me that because they've gotten to know me.
Once they get to know
me, and
I've known,
and I get where it comes from, but it does come to that point where I'm I'm more of a reserved guy. I am shy. Like I am.
And
You know what
I
mean?
feel like you would get people to tell you because
I'm
they're
an
like,
introvert.
"Oh, I'm so comfortable now because like,
Yeah.
I used to think you were trash."
I'm just in. I'm in
Not in a bad way.
I'm an introvert. I really am an introvert, but I also have like, I'm
You know your worth.
I'm in my head a lot, but at the same time I do know, like you said, I do know my worth, and I feel like I feel like I'm not big in judging people, but a problem that I do have, I would say, is like I do judge myself
Yeah.
more than anybody, you know, and that's
So you have like a high self-esteem, self-worth.
yeah, like I expect certain things from myself.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't expect anything from anyone else. You know, that's not the type of guy I'm like to judge people. But like for myself, I feel like that's kind of where it comes from. But yeah, like I'm just not I'm a big talker, but only to people that I feel like, you know, once they get to know me, you know, I'm a shy guy, man.
And like I said, I've had people tell me like
it takes a lot out of
because
me.
all three of us have worked together, and like I've known the young version of you guys and also now the adult version of you guys, so it is strange to like, oh, we were fucking children when we met. Now we were actively fucking children, but we were children when we met each other.
Right, just to clear that up.
I just wanted to
clear that up.
Just clear,
FBI.
I do not like little kids. No, but it is. I mean, even so, like for you, it's different. For Juan, it's like I think most people would say you're very vocal and verbal, and
Okay.
it's really not
I wouldn't say
a
that
difference.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I feel like people get different impressions
Yeah,
from me depending on who it is and where I
Depending on
am.
their skin color, you probably make it bigger.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
Yeah, I think Juan. I don't think Juan is like super. I think you're very, very talcative. You know, out of all of us.
I would say you're the most extroverted.
You're
by
the more
far,
extrovert. Like you enjoy that, and I wish I could have that, dude. Like
You don't.
I really. You
don't.
At times I do though. You know what I mean? Because I enjoy talking to people. Right?
Yeah.
Like introvert doesn't mean I don't like talking. Like I enjoy talking to people.
Yeah.
But sometimes when I don't, it takes a lot out of me, man.
It's,
like I am
it's the
tired.
small talk that
Yeah.
is the most aggressive. Because to just have a dumbass conversation about, like today I had a conversation with someone, like, hey, it's Thursday. That's what they said to me. They said, hey, it's Thursday. And I was like, yeah, man, you got plans for the weekend? And they're like, not work. What am I supposed to do with that information? Do you have plans? Like, what do you have going on? Not work.
If not work, what?
Yeah, exactly. So you work Monday through Friday to then not do shit for 2 days and then do it again Monday through Friday?
Dude, I think like you said last time, like sometimes people just go on autopilot and there's nothing else there. They're just like doing whatever task they were hired to do, but like,
Are there people that just stare at walls for an hour? Like, do you just like, this is my time to kind of chill out? Yeah, I don't get it. But no, back to the original question. I would say you are definitely more reserved, but I did want to get your opinion on it.
No, yeah, and I get where it comes from. I do understand it, like, cause I'm getting better at it. Let's say that. Let's say that I'm getting better at it because I think the biggest issue is like I'm not the one to like I don't. It's like initiate like
you don't want to initiate.
Right, to initiate the conversation. Like I will, you know what I mean. But like,
hey, how's it going?
Most times I'm very comfortable with being like by myself,
just quiet.
Like I enjoy my time like to myself, by myself, and like I guess innately my body isn't like, oh, let's go talk to more people and meet more people because I'm like, hey, I'm cool right now. But like, I think that's something that I'm working on because you know to build more relationship with people because.
Right. I wish I had more of that. I wish I didn't feel the need to just like talk to people.
Yeah.
Because for me, it's always like I need to get the words out of my head.
Right.
Because there is no comfort. It is an ongoing battle to just like, all right, like I got this dumbass thing in my head and like it's got to come out.
Spit it out. Spit it out. Spit it out.
So it is a very non-fun feeling.
Do you think those things come from? Let's bring this back to you. Like, do you think you're like that because of your childhood and how you were younger, or do you think it's you were just born like that?
I think when people say nature versus nurture, I think like 60%'s got to be nature. Like I think the way you're born, the way you come out, is definitely it. Like that is. So I was at my grandmother's the other day, and she was telling me that she walks across town, which is like a 4-mile walk, Probably no. That's aggressive. That's
It's a little aggressive. Mile.
So from where she lives to Piggly Wiggly is probably like a mile and a half, and she walks. She's like, I can't just stay at home. And I'm like, well, that's probably why I have a very similar attribute to her, because like she just can't sit still. So I think definitely it came from just being born with it. Like obviously growing up and you have a channel for it of like, oh, like I can talk to people, like I'm not worried about making an ass out of myself. But to truly have to talk to people, it's not fun.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you can deep dive into, like, where you're not paid attention to enough.
Yeah, because I even remember I was
You know
at,
what I mean?
no, it was definitely that.
That's the thing.
I only got attention when my dad hit me, so I'm going to keep talking until I know the crap.
You don't get that till you're older and you're like talking to a therapist about it, but like they're like, oh, it's because you always got in trouble because that's the only time you don't see your dad is because you were in trouble. And it's like, well, that's kind of shitty. That's kind of shitty to learn about. Like, you would subconsciously get in trouble more and more because you would look for that conversation. The amount of times I had to call my dad at work over the phone, kindergarten through 5th grade at elementary school. Dude, it was bad.
See what I mean? It's the exact opposite.
Like multiple times a month.
Jeez.
Yeah, it was like...
What'd you do?
Just dumb shit. Like, get into fights. I remember one time I flushed an apple down the toilet. As you would think. That
doesn't even fit.
That flushed 0% down the toilet.
Did it get stuck right there in front of you, or it went in a little bit?
So what we would do is we would climb in between stalls. And what would always happen is we'd knock the toilet paper out. Like, we would climb in between stalls.
Put your foot down?
You'd put your foot through the toilet paper, and the toilet paper would fall on the ground, and then you would just grab the entire roll and just throw it in the toilet.
Bro, kids like you, I never understood as a kid, bro. Like, seriously. Like, I remember seeing kids do something like, I don't even understand where I got that from. Like, you remember, did you ever go into middle school, or in elementary or middle school, where there was, like a couple months, we had like a bandit shit taker that would take craps in the urinal. I'm like, bro, you don't even got toilet paper. How did you do that in the middle of the day?
He would crab walk his ass back to the stall.
It wouldn't be there at 7 in the morning, but it would be there at 2:30 when the bell rang. So it was like, nobody knew where it came from, but like, it was happening.
Somebody did it.
That
is a dry shit. I never went to that far, but I'm sure you gave me a couple more months. That is a dry shit, and I don't think I would have been capable of it.
It just blew my mind. It's like, it changed my whole perspective. Like, you can really do whatever you want.
That's an aggressive
and
move.
people are made like this.
Oh, and again, 100% nature. That is the way you were born.
His mom taught him that.
Right. And you know what? Yeah, probably his older brother was like, dude, you ever take a shit?
Really funny?
You know what? The funniest part about that is that no one knew except him.
No.
Like, no one, he probably had to wait till he was in there alone. He had to wait till it was like in the middle of math class.
He knew.
And they're like, the principal walked to every classroom and he's like, can you guys please stop taking shit?
This guy's just sitting there, just quiet.
Dude, a straight face. Like, and he's probably the one to get home and be like, guys, can you please stop taking shit to the urinal? I want to go home. Yeah, it's also a psychopath is someone that, what is it? Oh, fuck, I wish I knew. Oh, a psychopath can lie without blinking. Like, if you can tell a lie without blinking, you have the traits of a psychopath. And that kid sat there, and he's like,
"What?"
He's like, "Who did it, guys?"
I don't think we ever found out who did it. I think
you would have never.
I think he just stopped.
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, I should probably."
Good for him.
That's the end of the run.
What a legend.
Yeah, the worst thing I did that I felt bad about morally was there was these, like, you know, those 25-cent. They were a lot more popular when we were younger. Those figurines you would get from coin machines.
Those, like, Mexican guys?
Yeah, those, like, homies. And then after that, there was this really popular, like, alien figures.
Yeah.
And they were, like, 50 cents. Because there would be, like, 25 cents and there was 50 cents. So I remember I really liked them, and any change I found, anytime we'd go to the store on Sunday to buy groceries, I'd get one, and it's like, fuck, it's the same one. And this kid that I knew had the blue one that I wanted. That was because there was the 25 cents, and then above that was like a little poster of them all against the glass. So you would be like, oh fuck, like these are the cool ones. And he had it fucking stationed on the corner of his desk, and I walked by and I fucking snatched it without even blinking. I snatched it, and like not even a couple seconds go by, and he's like, oh, somebody stole it, blah blah blah. He starts like crying, like weeping, and we are in 3rd grade, and Mrs. Miller,
He knows he's fucked right away.
and he's like, guys, who took it? And the teacher's seeing this fucking 10-year-old cry. He's like, all right guys, empty your pockets, let's see what happened. And I was one of that kid's best friends,
You should just stuff your pants, bro.
and dude, it was deep in my pants. And I was like, dude, what happened? Who took it? Like, guys, come on, please fess up. Like, who stole this?
This is my friend you're talking about.
I was like,
Y'all are assholes. I swear to God, if I found out you took it, Joey.
I found out who fucking took it. They're getting their ass kicked. And I seriously was like helping him under the desk. I'm like, did you drop it? Did somebody bump against your desk? Like, and I was just looking him right in the face, and I was like, it is in my pocket right now. Because it was at the time where cargo like pants.
Yeah.
So, dude, I had 25 pockets. You're gonna search all of them? I don't fucking think so. And I stuffed that thing in there, and afterwards I was like, oh fuck, like, really? But you gotta commit. You gotta commit.
We all have different weird tendencies as a kid. I'd love to hear a story about you, Juan. But I remember a scenario where it's weird to me now to think about it, but I remember one time in 2nd grade, I don't know why, but I liked catching, like, you know how you can go and grab a net and catch like butterflies or stuff like that? I enjoyed catching butterflies and then putting them in the thing. But there was a time where
It's so wholesome.
Yeah, that's so just a lovely.
That sounds like
it starts off that way.
So I started dissecting them and eating their insides.
So what happened next is that at the end of recess, you couldn't take them back. You'd have to let them go.
Oh no!
And I was like,
Well, fuck that.
these are my butterflies.
Yeah, these are mine.
Like, it took me all recess to find 2-3 butterflies. I ran, I jumped, I climbed, and these are my butterflies, right? You understand what I'm
These
saying?
are mine.
Yeah.
These are mine.
These weren't just fucking landed in my pocket.
No. They didn't just fly to me. So I grabbed them. They said I had to get them out. I knew they were going to take it from me. So I
Did you have them in a jar?
I had it's like a little box.
Okay.
I grabbed them, I took them all out, and I put them in my like sweatshirt to hold them, and I brought them into class. And then we're walking to class, I have in my sweatshirt. I you know how you have those open desks that open up? I put them in there. And I didn't want to let them go. But then what happened was they died pretty quick.
After I beat them up in my pocket,
They died pretty quick. And I had this kid that like looked over me, and he's like, "Why do you have? What is that?" And the teacher's like, "Yeah." And I remember I was so embarrassed because it was like such a weirdo thing to do to keep like butterflies in the thing, and like I remember everyone was just looking at me like they weren't even laughing, but they were just looking at me just like, "Why did he do that?" Like, you ever seen Superbad?
Yeah.
Where he draws dicks? Yeah. In the girl season? That's how I felt.
How many did you have in
I
there?
had like a good amount. It's because I left the ones that I killed already in there. So I had like 5. I had a couple days of them, like, of just dead butterflies.
Man, that's a feat.
I was 2nd grade, you know what I mean?
That's a feat.
Yeah.
Number 1, you had to catch all 5.
Right.
And number 2, you had to have the audacity to be like, no, they're coming with.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't just like, oh, okay, I'm going to catch a few and then let them go. And then eventually you were like, nah, this ain't happening again.
Did you cry or anything like that?
I don't remember. I know I was a little embarrassed. Like, I don't know if I cried. That, you know, not really me, but I should have just kicked the soccer ball around that day.
Nah, man. You do what you needed to do.
That sounds like a great story.
Yeah, that is a really good story.
Do you have something like that where you're a kid, like, did something like super weird?
Dude, I was thinking about it as you were saying that, and like the only thing that comes to mind is something that I was way too old to like
To be doing?
Yeah. Like my earlier years in high school, I would say that I fucked with like 2 friends,
two separate incidents. Not that it was continuous, but I would always like pick like a periphery friend that like I wasn't that close to, but I kind of liked, and like I would always just fuck with them a little bit, just a little bit.
Yeah, just enough.
Just a little bit. One specific guy, like we were like in multiple baseball teams together. He was like the only Hispanic kid in his school and in like a ritzy school, so he like connected with me and stuff and like this and that, right? And suddenly we're in high school after we had not been in middle school together, and we're like, it's not that we're running close circles, but like we'll always say hi to each other, we're always cordial, and we're always like kind of talking to each other. Point is, this dude liked a girl that I kind of
Did you also fuck with her a little bit?
No, not at all. No, she was just a friend of a friend.
Okay.
Like, she was a friend of mine, but like...
She's like a friend of a friend of a friend.
No, she was just a friend, right?
She was a friend that I wanted to have sex with.
Not at all. 0%. But point is, he liked her a lot. He fucking loved her, dude.
Like,
he would
every day.
Yeah, he would talk a lot about her and stuff. But like, there was two girls that liked him. And he wouldn't pay attention to the one that liked him. He only paid attention to the one that had zero interest in him. And I have no idea why I did this, but I thought it would be so funny if he received notes to ask him to say these from both girls, dude. I have no idea why I did that.
So you
was his reaction?
So like with the girl,
okay.
So
Let's rewind.
Yeah. So the girl.
How did you even think that this was?
I don't know why.
Why did you think it was possible? First of all, that he would believe you.
Oh,
He read a note and put it in his locker.
Because let me tell you how that came about.
We got a little bit of
whole or one individually?
No, just one question.
Overall.
Yeah. Okay, keep going.
So the way that came about was that the girl who liked him fucking planted that idea in my head. So the girl who was like after him and trying to like chase that tail, was like, hey, what? You know what'd be funny?
You know what'd be funny?
If you like asked him out and like convinced him that it was like the girl that he likes, but really it's not, and it's really me writing the note, the girl who likes him.
She had to have known that was a terrible idea.
It was, but I was so stupid for having let myself get.
She had to have known like,
okay, he'll get down, he'll come back to her, you know.
But he's got to know. He's got to know like this. She has got to know like, okay, this idea is not going to work because he's going to think it's her and be excited and realize it's me and still be rock hard, still be all bricked up. So he's like, well, now I got to commit. Well, I got to go to this girl now.
No, I speaking of rock hard, I feel like, right away, right, rock hard, but then as soon as she says, no, that wasn't me, it'd go way, way down.
Oh, it would become an innie.
Yeah, it'd be so far in that it'd be like, man, this is unusual. So maybe that girl is like, oh, it'll come back out a little bit now.
No. Yeah, that's a wrong.
Yeah.
So wait, what did he say? Did he find out it was you?
He did find out it was me. He didn't want to talk to me. He did not want to talk to me for a few months, like 3 or 4 months.
What was that conversation? Can you explain?
Yeah, he was just like,
how did you find out?
Oh, I don't remember.
Sadie's came up and he's like,
I don't remember. I think he just went to the girl that was like, oh, you asked me out? Like, you're so beautiful, I would love to go out with you. She's probably like, what the fuck are you talking about?
She was like, really
it probably went something like that.
He's like, this guy's delusional and he's a crazy
I can
person.
just imagine that happening, dude, and how embarrassed you are.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Alright, now, let's
Can
move on.
Can I tell you? Okay.
No, wait,
because I did that shit to 2 friends, bro. 2 friends? But like the second story is a little bit different. It's not the same, but I fucked with 2 friends in similar ways.
I want to hear what he said to you, though. What he
he was like, fuck you, this and... Yeah. He texted me, he's like, fuck you, you effing asshole, this and that. Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. That is really funny.
Okay, a few years later, me and a few friends... It's like autumn, and we're hanging out with a few girls, and we're all like looking for something to do. There's 3 guys, 3 girls. We're looking for something to do. There's a laptop, and I happen to know this one website where it's like this online Ouija board equivalent where you can type in the answers as you ask the questions, and the only person that's like aware of what's happening is the person who holds the laptop, right? So. there's this like super Christian black dude with us, like biracial dude. Love him, right? Super, like funny guy. We had a good time in sports stuff, good time. But he was new to the group. Gotta jab him a little bit. You know, gotta haze him a little bit.
Yeah, he's gotta earn his.
Gotta earn his lumps. That's right. So point is, like, we're playing this game. We're like, dear John, who's in the room right now? And then it names everybody, and everybody starts. You know, like we move on. Like, dear, like whatever. Like what?
And you're the one typing these.
I'm the one typing this in. I'm like, where does so and so live? Like, how many family members do they have?
Yeah.
That sort of thing. Like, and we're fucking with him. It's like, where do they live?
Who was how many friends were aware that
Two.
you were the one fucking with him?
The other two guys, the other one guy, one other friend, because there was three guys. It was me and him that were aware.
So you were just fucking with this one guy.
We're fucking with this one guy and the girls. So like 4 people total. So the girls were freaking out as well.
Yeah.
But the reason that I highlight this particular person is because like we were closer to him, and also everybody calls it a night. Like everybody's a little freaked out. If you like literally an hour and a half later, it was almost like watching a movie. Like we were that deep into it. We were just asking this question, that question, and we're leaving. Everybody like, hey, text me when you get home. Make sure you're okay. You know, like that sort of stuff, right? And so like everybody goes home, and then we find out the next Monday that the one dude that we were kind of focusing on, he had to call his pastor at 3 a.m. to come out to his home in the boonies, out in the country, to like essentially tell him that everything is okay and like cleanse his home.
No.
That shit fucking happened, and we weren't even aiming for that, dude.
Oh my goodness. How long did you talk to him afterwards?
Did you ever tell him?
We did, bro, and he was like, "Oh, you fucking asshole." He took it like a sport. He was a great sport, bro. He was an amazing sport because, he could have taken it up the butt. Like, he gave us like a hard time for like a week, but he took it like a champ, dude.
Dude, the worst.
Because like he literally had his mom woken up, his sisters. He
wasn't in a good spot.
No, he was like having like a crisis.
After me.
He's like, "Mom, I played with the online Ouija board today."
She was probably pissed.
Yeah, she's like, well, first of all, why are you doing that?
First of all, it deserves to come get you.
Yeah. Dude, you said he took it like a sport. I saw somebody get fucked with so badly in a church retreat and just handled it so well.
Oh, okay. Thank God.
They handled it way better than anybody should have handled this moment. So, have you guys gone to like retreats and like overnight retreats?
A ton.
They're never, way too many. I can agree with
many.
you. So I went to one, and dude, I'm not kidding. At the end of the 3 days, so it was 3 days and 2 nights. So we stayed at these cabins. There was about 5 people per cabin, and there were some that were like double cabins. So it was essentially you shared a lobby, like 5 people that way, 5 people that way, all like a studio room. So there wasn't separate rooms. All you had your own bed, but it was all in just one giant room. And at the end of the 3 days, one of the counselors came to our cabin specifically and said, "You guys are the worst kids I've ever met, and I'm never going to sign up for one of these again." Like, singled out our room. And once I tell you what happened, you'll realize why. So you got to remember that the people that go to these church retreats aren't the good kids. It's not kids getting closer to God. Like, those kids are fine. Those kids love God. They're going to go to heaven as they should. They are fine. The people that go to these are being forced by their parents, by their friends. They're usually really, really bad kids. And the particular cabin that I stayed in...
The reason I'm there.
The reason I was there, right? And the cabin that I stayed in did some of the most obscene things I've ever seen. Like jail shit. Because the kids that I was staying with had been to juvie. They told me stories about them doing coke and crack. And they were telling me some of the most fucked up stories. And they're like, yeah, man, I had to make like burrito in jail out of like hot Doritos. And I would like I'd run the bag under hot water to make them melt, and I would shake it up. All these crazy fucking stories that I would never guess. Well, there was this one guy in there who wasn't a bad kid. He was just some dude who was trying to get closer to God. Got signed up for whatever reasons. And the first night, they shave his legs. As he's sleeping, they shave his legs.
He didn't wake up.
Well, they started to, and they would stop, and he'd be like, what the fuck? And probably in his head, he was like, no one's fucking with me. There's no way. And they did both legs, and they did half of his eyebrow. Half of his eyebrow. And the worst thing about getting half your eyebrow shaved off is that you gotta commit to either the look or shaving the whole thing off. And he committed to neither. He decided, that's just what I'm going with. And so this was the first night. The next night, because he didn't want to come back to the cabin, the guys that I was with were like, well, fuck him. We're going to get him again. He doesn't want to come in here and hang out with us. Who does he think he is? Just like us shaving his legs.
He too good for us?
They're like, well, fuck him. So one guy starts taking a shit in the garbage can, in the garbage bag. So he's, those that are 1.5 foot high. He starts taking a shit in the bag. Not in the bathroom. They're like, hey, take a shit in the bag. We're going to put it in his suitcase.
Oh. Why don't you just take the bag in the bathroom?
No, dude. This guy grabbed the garbage can and he brought it out by us. Because the people I was with were like, you're not going to do it. You're not going to do it. And he's like, no, I'll fucking do it. So he took his shit in the middle of a room. And the rest of us were just looking at him. Like, is he going to do it? And he's like, all right, I'm done. And he picked it up with it on his ass and walked into the bathroom to wipe. Takes the bag, closes it, and puts it in this dude's suitcase. Okay. And we just have to sit in the smell of shit until this guy comes. And we wait like 2 hours. We waited like 2 hours. We were just telling, they were telling me stories about, them getting in trouble. They're like, I fucked this bitch, blah, blah, blah. Like crazy stories. And I'm 16 and I'm like, I'm not closing my eyes 1 second. Like I'm going to stay awake for fucking 36 hours. Like there's no way I'm going to close my eyes. And this dude finally walks in. And it's obviously it smells like shit. And none of us, they were trying to keep it cool and keep talking like nothing had happened. And they're talking, they're like, yeah, whatever, the food was bullshit or the cold ass rice. And this dude is gonna get changed to take a shower and go to sleep. And he grabs his suitcase from under the bed and he puts it on his bed from left to right, big zipper all the way around, opens it up. And it fills the room with the smell. And he's like, oh, what the fuck? And he takes the bag out, throws it out the door, doesn't say anything to anyone, closes the suitcase, grabs it, and leaves. Just leaves. Just full on walks out with the suitcase in his hand. And as soon as he left, all of us started laughing. We're like, yeah, we fucking got each other up. And so the next day is Sunday, it's the last day, and that's when the counselor walks in and he's like, you guys are the worst fucking kids I have ever met. He's like, I'm never going to sign up for one of these again. You guys are the worst. He's like, what is wrong with you guys? And tries to give us this, like, all the shit that he was giving us an hour ago of like, none of you, it's too late, you guys can all make it to heaven, just completely contradicted himself. You spawn of Satan. These are the worst fucking people I've ever met. I was like, I did nothing. And Sunday Mass, the dude who got fucked with, they're like, all right, Mass is over. If anybody wants to give their testimony and talk about their experience, he is the second person up there. And he's only the second person up there because the first person was a counselor. So he is up there. And the first thing he says just broke all of us. He goes, the devil really tested me this weekend, but God shined through. And you just had to look at all the people that I shared the room with, and I'm like, yeah, guys, I don't think we're the God that shined through. I think we're probably the best fight. And just... Dude, and they were actively laughing, and the worst part is they were laughing because he still only had half of an eyebrow. And yeah, man, that was awful. That was awful.
On that note,
on that note, we'll come to our closing segment, which is our girlfriends ask us a question.
No way.
So earlier in the night, I asked them, please ask us a question. And so as our closing segment, they asked us, you ready?
ready?
when do you think is the right moment to propose? So guys, thanks for another great episode. It was great talking to you guys, and we'll see you guys next week.
All right.
When I did it, that's when.